Morning. It's Sunday, and we are just about to set sail here from Williams Lake. We're gonna go on the 97 down to Lone Butte. Then we're gonna take the 1849 Hudson's Bay Fur Brigade trail. They used this trail to trade from Fort Kamloops in the interior. So they'd go into the interior, find furs and all kinds of stuff, and then they would go to the Fort Kamloops to sell and, trade their goods.
Leaving Williams Lake.
We got Stomp and Tom on the CD player. Believe it or not, we're using a Walkman. We're gonna hop on the 6 and take that through the Okanagan shuswap territory
for 11 kilometers.
Into the Coonies. But we're now entering Lone Butte, as you can see, and so I've never driven this road before, so I don't know what to expect. It's a paved road. The Fur Brigade Trail, Hudson's Bay Company in the 1840s, 1849. They were hunting for fur and stuff in the interior, and they needed a way to get the fur to Fort Kamloops, which is now Kamloops. So they initially canoed and did a series of portages from where we are currently, to Little Fort. And it was basically, we're going to come through a series of lakes, and they canoed these lakes and then portaged in between. And then there's a big final portage over the mountain into Little Fort, and then they went down to Kamloops. So that's the road we're taking currently. It's now known as the Interlakes Highway. We'll be crossing into the North Thompson, so we're South Cariboo region right now. We'll be into the North Thompson area, and then after that, we'll be passing through the shuswap Okanagan area. That's kind of what our the districts look like for the next couple hours. Yeah, so that's the butte there, as they call it, Lone Butte. A butte's just a rock formation that jets out. They tend to kind of be by themselves. You can have a cluster of them, but they can also be by themselves. It's pretty iconic looking. Well, we're about halfway on the 24 Interlakes Highway, otherwise known as the Fishing Highway rest area. That's Wells Gray Provincial Park over there, just about in the North Thompson. We're still South Cariboo, but we're transitioning pretty soon into the North Thompson. Interlakes Highway, we just keep on going. We passed through the Cariboo now, so we're officially in North Thompson area. Very windy though. It's 5 degrees out, but it feels like it's below zero because it's a very, very windy day today. I ran out of washer fluid, so I needed some washer fluid. Got another bottle, so that's good. This is the 5, otherwise known as the Yellowhead Highway. The actual Yellowhead Highway goes from Masset up in the North Island, up in Haida, the North Island in BC, just below the Alaskan Panhandle, and then it actually terminates in Winnipeg. But this is a spur line of the 5 Yellowhead, so you can take the 5 south down to Kamloops, and then from Kamloops it becomes the Coquihalla. But yeah, we're on the spur line of the 5 Yellowhead, heading south towards Kamloops, through Wells Gray Provincial Park. We're gonna pass Barriere coming up here, and Barriere, actually, for any of you guys that watch TV out there, they show backroad truckers. They shoot in BC. It's kind of like ice road truckers, but they're guys that they drive all the back roads, and they do this thing called hot shotting, which is transporting materials that need to be, like, you need something now, these guys will do it. Anyway, so the yard that this show is shot at is actually in Barriere. The business that is on that show is run out of Barriere. So just coming into Kamloops, weather's not too bad. It's 14 degrees. Yeah, so we're gonna stop and get some lunch in Kamloops, or breakfast, I guess, but lunch for us, and then do some errands, and then hit the road again, and then we'll be heading through canal territory, the Okanagan Shuswap Canal. So we'll discuss some of that. So we just left Kamloops. Now we're on the 97 south. I'm gonna go through Monte Creek, Falkland, Vernon, and then at Vernon we're gonna get on the 6 and head to Cherryville. And Cherryville is an old gold mining camp from the 1860s. On our way to Vernon, 97C. Okay, so we just came into Westwold. Fun fact about this town, it used to be called La Grande Prairie, and it's now called Westwold. Grand Forks also used to be called La Grande Prairie, and there was too much confusion between the two. La Grande Prairie in the Kootenays became Grand Forks, and La Grande Prairie here became Westwold. So that's kind of the deal with this town. But you can see it's a Grand Prairie. And now we're in the Okanagan, and we're going to be kind of riding the border in between the Okanagan and the Shuswap. So, you know. But Okanagan's known for fruit and farming and wine. Lots of vineyards here. Okay, so we're just out of Vernon now. We're on our way to Cherryville on the 6. This highway was built in the 40s, and it pretty much has not changed since. Very windy, narrow, steep, typical BC highway. But we're going to pass through Lumbee, and back in the day, there was a plan to canal the Okanagan. So the idea was you'd be able to go from the Shuswap Lakes, Adams Lake and all that, down to Osoyoos. But you would do that by a system of canals. But Mr. Lumbee, which the town is named after that we're going to pass through, he was petitioning for the railway instead of the canal system to be built. So obviously the government decided to go with the cheap option. So there's a train track that the Shuswap Okanagan Railway had. Some people back in the day got in their way. You would be able to paddle from Salmon Arm or even Chase over to all the way down to Osoyoos. It would be through a system of canals, and all the rivers were going to be linked. And it's a pretty extravagant idea back in the day, but it just was too expensive and never came to be. They actually built a stern wheeler. There's a trial to see if it would fit in the box, to see if they could. So they built a custom stern wheeler specifically just for navigating the locks in the Okanagan, but the project was scrapped because they decided to not go with the locks and go with the railway, which Mr. Lumbee was the one that pushed that. Lots of fruit here too, obviously Cherryville, cherries. And, that's actually why they named Cherryville Cherryville. It was originally Cherry Creek in the 1860s, and then the guys that were prospecting there, they kept finding cherries on the banks of the river. So naturally, as more people moved there, it stopped becoming a mining camp and actually became more of a village or a town, whatever you want to call it. So they actually advanced the road out from Lumbee, all the way from Lumbee to Cherryville, and then on into Cusp in the future. But back in the day in BC, there was really only, well, there's 3 ways. Water, land, or by river. So you could go through the lakes, you could go by the river, or you could walk on land. And really, those were your only 3 options. And you didn't have planes or, trains eventually, but the trains were, a lot of it was for ore. They did move people, but Some of the railway networks we're going to see, especially the one into Cusp, it was primarily ore that it moved. It wasn't really, like I'm pretty sure maybe potentially they moved people when they had to, like miners and stuff. But really, it was designed to move ore from the mine to the stern wheelers, and then from the stern wheelers to the main railway station, and then out into the world to be sold to market.
And one to get into the ferry.